Last week we started the discussion on ISLM curves, and we derived IS and LM curves, investment savings and demand for money and supply of money. Equilibrium in the goods market, in other words, equilibrium in the goods market and equilibrium in the money market, can be represented using two curves, two lines. IS curve represents the equilibrium in the goods market, LM curve represents the equilibrium in the money market. Then we derived those two curves for the simple model, that is for this model. The closed economy without government. Very simple model, primitive economy, no government, only business sector, companies and the business sector and the households were there. Then derive that. First we derive the IS curve, then we derive the LM curve. LM curve, we ask some questions about the LM curve. Is the position of the LM curve depends on some variables, monetary policy variables. Position of the IS curve depends on some variables, fiscal policy variables. Then we have the question, the LM curve. After that, we derive the equilibrium, income and interest rate. For that, I think we believe that we derive that. Now this is the one. Fiscal policy. Shifters of IS and LM curves. IS curve, today's lesson start from here. IS curve is a downward sloping curve. It shifts up or down. Up or down. You are on the IS curve. It shifts up or down. Sometimes it shifts right or to the left. IS curve shifts up or down due to the changes in fiscal policy variables. LM curve is upward sloping curve, shifts down or up. Down, so up or down due to the changes in monetary policy variables. Then the question is what is fiscal policy and what is monetary policy? What are the fiscal policy variables and what are the monetary policy variables? Now, for this demand management policies, economic policies can be broadly classified into two types, two groups: fiscal policy and the monetary policy. Fiscal policy is mainly related to the government budget, government expenditure, government revenue, taxation. Right. So fiscal policy decisions are taken by the Treasury under the Honorable the Minister of Finance, now the Honorable Prime Minister. The Secretary to the Treasury is Mr. Artigala. Now that is his job, to decide the fiscal policy decisions, take the policy decisions and monitor those decisions. Monetary policy is central bank baby. Monetary policy is responsible. Central bank is responsible. Central bank responsible for implementing the monetary policy, designing the monetary policy, implementing and follow up the monetary policy decision. Monetary policy is something to do with the money supply, cost of money, interest rate, the opportunity cost of money, interest rate, something like that. So the central bank propose and implement the monetary policy. The government treasury, Minister of Finance, propose and implement the fiscal policy. So what is the fiscal policy? Fiscal policy is the policies related to the government revenue, expenditure, and the financing of the budget deficit or by the disbursement of budget surplus. Policy variables, fiscal policy variables, government expenditure. Then the tax system, taxation, taxes mainly. These are the two types of policies the Treasury can be used as instruments. Government expenditure policies and tax policies. Government can increase expenditure, decrease expenditure. One policy variable. Government can increase taxes, tax rates, marginal tax rate or average tax rate, decrease tax rates. Or in addition to that, government can use some other measures, direct intervention, fiscal policy, direct intervention can be taken. Now, the fiscal policy variable, recently the government employed the undergraduate, graduates. So, maybe around 20 to 25,000 month salary is paid. They are now interns now, they are undergoing training. So that is a fiscal policy decision. Why is that? Government expenditure increases. Government expenditure increases that amount. If you hire 20,000 graduates, 20,000 into 20,000, 4 billion, right? So the 400 million the rupees has to be spent. So that is the government expenditure policy. Government expenditure increases by that amount. Then the monetary policy is implemented by the central bank. Monetary policy is implemented by the central bank. The policies, the reserve ratio, then the repo rate, reverse repo rate. Reverse repo rate is the standing deposit facility, standing lending facility. So these are all the direct intervention can also be done, right? So mainly these are the policies: the reserve rate, bank rate as a lender of last resort. The central bank can grant loans to the commercial banking sector. That rate, reserve ratio, is the certain percentage of the deposit liability should be kept with the central bank. That rate, that interest rate, that rate reserve ratio is called. If it is 10%, 10% of the deposit liability should be kept with the central bank. You can earn interest. If it is 20%, so they have to keep 20% of their deposits, value of their deposit, with the central bank. When the reserve ratio increases, the money supply, lending, the ability of the central commercial banks decreases. That directly affects the money supply of the economy. Money supply decreases, right? So you can control using these policies: reserve ratio, bank rate, standing deposit facility, standing lending facility, or repo rate, or the reverse repo rate, earlier terminology, right? Now, IS curve, downward sloping, LM curve, upward sloping. IS curve would shift up or down, will shift, good or better, will shift the up or down due to the changes in fiscal policy variables. For example, increase in government expenditure, G, will shift the IS curve to the right. Or decrease in government expenditure, G, will shift the IS curve to the left, within brackets. You have to read, take the level to the left. Now here this is increase in government expenditure, shift the IS curve to the right. You can cut the expenditure, shift the IS curve down. For example, the hiring of 20,000 the unemployed graduates, government expenditure increases, therefore IS curve shifts up. What will happen when IS curve shifts to the right? Initial income, GDP, national income definitely increases. Not only that, interest rate also increases. That is the problem. Government expenditure increases, the interest rate increases. That is when they hire people, when the government increase their expenditure, what will happen? GDP increases. That amount, the aggregate demand increases. People start spending their money, earnings. Then the production increases, output increases. Interest rate at the same time, interest rate also increases. If the government decrease the expenditure, IS curve shift down, output decreases, interest rate decreases. Those things will happen. IS curve which shifts up or down due to change in fiscal policy. LM curve, now this is, I think this is repeated. We don't want this. Taxes. IS curve would shift down due to changes in fiscal, decrease in taxes. That is the second example. Earlier we discussed increase in government expenditure. Now the taxes. Decrease in taxes. Earlier, increase in government expenditure, shift the IS curve to the right. Now this time, decrease in taxes, shift the IS curve to the right. That is interesting. Earlier, when government increase the expenditure, IS shifts to the right. When government cut the expenditure, IS shift to the left. In the case of taxes, when government they decrease taxes, IS shifts up. When government increase taxes, IS shifts down. So that is to understand this. Why is that? When government cut taxes, taxes, tax rates, what will happen? People will have more money. Business will have more money to spend. So their demand increases, aggregate demand increases, economy's production increases, goods and services increases. That's why GDP increases. IS curve, when government cut taxes, decrease taxes, IS shift to the right. If government increase taxes, IS shift to the left. Now this is when government decrease taxes, our purchasing power increases. Business sector, the purchasing power increases. Aggregate demand increase. We can buy more goods and services. The demand for goods and services, people's demand for economy's goods and demand for goods and services increases because we have more money. Simple layman's language, right? Then aggregate demand increases. As a result, firm will have to produce goods and services, more and more goods and services. That's why GDP increase in GDP. Interest rate increases. That is also there. LM curve. LM curve would shift up or down due to the changes in monetary policy. Increase in money supply will shift the LM curve to the right. Increase in when money supply increases, LM shift down or the LM shift to the right. LM, this is you are on the LM curve, it's right or shift down. You can say. Then when money supply decreases, LM shifts up, shift left. Increase in money supply M will shift the LM curve to the right. Now this is increase in money supply. What will happen? I have not indicated. Again GDP increases. I have not indicated that line. But interest rate decreases. Well, LM comes down. Equilibrium income increases. Equilibrium interest rate decreases. When money supply increases, these things will happen, right? Now, last few months, central bank reduce the reserve ratio, bank rate, and deposit rate, the expansion, the monetary policy, reduce these the interest rates so that to increase money supply in the economy. When money supply increases, interest rate decreases. That is the idea. Decrease the interest rate. Why is that? When the whole interest rates comes down, investors are benefited. Investor confidence increases. Investors can borrow money at a lower cost, lower opportunity cost. Then they will start investing. That was the idea. Giving now interest rate structure. Interest rate now Sri Lanka is now moving towards low interest rate regime. Lending rates are coming down. Deposit rates are coming down. FD rate 12%, 10%, 8%, 7%, maybe around 6%. Lending rate also is coming down. When lending rate comes down, investors will be happy. So you can get loans at a lower cost, lower opportunity cost, the cost of funds will decrease. But when whole interest rate structure comes down, deposit rates also coming down, then what will happen? Savers are sad. Savers will not be happy. Then the taxes. When interest rate. When interest rates comes down, whole lending rates and the deposit rates comes down. When lending rates comes down, investors are happy. They can get money, borrow money at a lower cost. Savers are sad, especially pensioners, fixed income earners, those who live on their savings. On the deposit rates are coming down, interest rates are coming down. They are not happy. The problem is there. Investors, pensioners start complaining. That is happening nowadays in Sri Lanka because the deposit rate is very low. Your monthly the earnings, interest rate will be low. Their expenditure, they will be poorer than earlier. Savers will be poorer than earlier. If you don't have any other income source, there will be a problem. They will have to face lots of problems. Cost of living, their real income decreases, nominal income decreases, earnings decreases. They will face difficulties in financing their day-to-day expenses, right? That's the problem is there, yes. But investors, because if the government idea is to encourage investors, that is good thing. So think like, okay, now we are going to introduce closed economy with government. Introduce the government. Now we have households, government, and the business sector. What do household do with their income? They consume, they pay taxes, they save. Balance is saved. Business sector, companies, what do? They have to produce consumption goods for the households, government expenditure, other goods and services for the government also demand, then investment good for the other companies and for themselves also, right? C plus I plus G, GDP equals C plus I plus G, Y equals GDP. So therefore our basic equation is this, Y equals C plus I plus G. I'm not going to explain this each component separately. Now here investment function we discuss 200 minus 20R. That's a negative relationship between investment and interest rate. Then the consumption function 200 plus. Last example I took 0.8Y only. Consumption function 200 plus 0.8Y. Now this time we have Y minus T. Why is that? Because the disposable income, Y minus T is called disposable income, after tax income, after paying tax income. Because we are getting 5,000 rupees, so let's say 50,000 rupees per month. Then you have to pay, let's say 2,000 rupees as a tax. Then your real purchasing power, disposable income, the income that you can spend to buy goods and services is 48,000. That's why it is called Y minus T. 50,000 minus 2,000. That is the actual income. That to that amount you can increase your consumption. Your consumption depends on not the current income 50,000. Consumption depends on 48,000. Y minus T. Then the government expenditure, as the early example, you assume 100, right? Then the demand for money. Y minus 100R, we know that there's a negative relationship between demand for money and interest rate. There's a positive relationship between demand for money and income. Money supply is an exogenous, independent variable. That is 500. It's a central bank baby. Central bank can decide the money supply in the economy, whether to increase money supply by another 500 billion or 1,000 billion in the economy. That is up to the central bank. No other variables are affected, affects that decision, right? That is the central bank monetary policy decision. Monetary policy committee is there every 2 weeks time. Central bank convene the monetary policy committee, and then they take the decision what should be done with the interest rates, what should be done with the money supply, what should be done with the reserve ratio, bank rate, standing deposit facility, the lending facility. Then they issue the statements, monetary policy statement. That monetary policy statement will be a signal to the commercial banks, other players in the financial sector. They take that signal and either decrease or increase their rates. Right? If the central bank cut the reserve ratio, or they can cut the other rates, overall rates will come down. Commercial banks will also reduce the rates. Then okay, now we are going to derive IS curve and LM curve using this information. So the information given on the left related to the goods market. Equations given on the right related to the money market. Using these two equations, we derive the LM curve. Very simple. Demand for money equals supply of money. Then you can derive the LM curve. This IS curve, where you have to keep substituting these. Y equals C plus I plus G. That is the opening initial formula. C plus I plus G. Then you substitute C. Then you substitute I, substitute T, substitute G and derive relationship between Y and R, IS curve. Using demand money market, again you can derive the relationship between Y and R. Okay. IS curve. C plus I plus G. 200 plus 0.8 Y minus T. 200 minus 20 R plus 200 G. Then you substitute T equals 100. 200 plus 0.8 Y minus 100. 200 minus 20 R plus 100. Then you, like that, you simplify 200 plus 200, 400 plus 100, the 500. 500 minus 80 is 420. 0.8 Y same, 20 R minus. Right? Then you take Y minus 0.8. Y is 0.2 Y. 420 minus 20 R. This is the relationship between income and interest rate. Income and interest rate, GDP and interest rate, that shows the goods market equilibrium. Aggregate demand equals aggregate supply. Demand equals supply. Demand for goods and services equals supply for goods and services. That is the Y and YR relationship is the IS curve. Or you can take Y as a subject. You divide both sides of this equation by 0.2. 0.2 Y divided by 0.2 is Y. 420 divided by 0.2 is 2100. 20 divided by 0.2 is 100. This is also correct. In the examination, you need not to do this transformation. You can keep IS curve like this or like calculate like this. You get full marks. No problem. Not to worry. LM curve. LM curve, demand for money, Y minus 100 R. Supply curve, the money supply, 500. At equilibrium, demand for money equals supply of money. Excuse me. Then demand for money equals supply of money. Y equals 100 R plus 500. Y minus 100 R is the demand for money. 500 is the supply of money. Money market is in equilibrium. Demand for money equals supply of money. Then we can derive the relationship between Y and R. That is called LM curve. R, Y. R, Y, LM curve. Upward sloping curve. Similar to the IS curve, you can make R as the subject. If you have done maths, the dependent variable along the y-axis, x-axis, independent variable. That's why mathematically this is correct. Mathematically this is consistent with your idea. But both are correct. Economist doesn't say one is correct, the other one is wrong. No, both are correct. It is the relationship between Y and R. You divide, take the 100R this side, divided by 100 both sides, you get this equation. If you have to do some the calculation, manipulation, you can derive that. You have the IS curve and the LM curve. IS curve, LM curve. Now, then what is the you have IS curve, LM curve. Point of intersection is what? Equilibrium GDP and equilibrium interest rate. Equilibrium income and equilibrium interest rate in the economy. What is that equilibrium? At that point, what is equilibrium? Goods market is in equilibrium. Money market is in equilibrium. Both real sector and the monetary sector in equilibrium. We use another term for that one, general equilibrium. Economy is general equilibrium. No excess demand or excess supply in the goods market. No excess demand for excess supply in the money market. That is the one. So equilibrium. Equilibrium income and interest rate. IS curve, we have derived 2100 minus 100R. LM curve, we have derived 100R plus 500. IS equals LM. 2000 with at equilibrium. Demand equals supply in the macroeconomics. Here the IS LM equals 2100 minus 100R equals 100R plus 500. 200R equals 1600. Therefore, R naught increases 8, Y naught increases 1300. What is the interest rate? interest rate is 8%. Income is 1,300 million rupees or $1 million, whatever the units you use. GDP is 1,300. Equilibrium interest rate is 8. General equilibrium interest rate 8. At that general equilibrium, the point economy GDP is value of GDP is 1,300. Right? At that equilibrium, goods market is in equilibrium, money market is in equilibrium. That means general equilibrium. Now we go to the another exercise. C plus I plus G. Goods market. C equals 170 plus 0.6 Y minus T. With government. Closed economy with government. I equals 100 minus 4R. T equals 200. G equals 350. Demand for money 0.75. Y minus 6R. Money supply. Find IS curve, find LM curve, find equilibrium income and interest rate. I will give you 5 minutes to work out this. Can you do that? Please start. First, you derive the IS curve. Substitute C, I, G, T, G. Then the LM curve. Demand equals supply. Then you have the equilibrium. Can you work out? 5 minutes time, I will work out this again. Okay. Thank you. Just keep substituting, that's all. It's simple. IS curve, relationship between income and interest rates. So that goods market is in equilibrium. LM curve, relationship between income and interest rate. So that the money market is in equilibrium. Demand equals supply. In the equilibrium. Will work out. Now we'll first derive the IS curve. IS curve. Why do you derive the IS curve? You substitute these numbers to the is Y equals C 170 plus 0.6 Y minus T, T is 200 plus G, so plus I 100 minus 4R plus G 350. Correct? Simplify now. After that, simple mathematics. 170 plus 0.6 Y minus 200 into 0.6 is 1200, 120. 200 into 0.6. 0.6, no? Yes. Plus 100 minus 4R plus 350. Now we add these two. And then 70 and then 70 plus 100 plus 350 equals minus 120 equals 500. 500 is 500. Then 70 is this and that. Plus 0.6 Y minus 4R equals what? Take down this. Can you see? Actually, can you see the board? Please tell me if you can't see. Please tell me if you can't see. Then Y minus 0.6 Y is 0.4 Y equals 500 minus 4R. That is the IS curve. IS curve. IS curve. Then LM curve. LM curve is this: demand for money. MDP equals supply of money. MST equals P over P. 0.75Y minus 6R equals 735. Demand for money equals supply of money. This can be written as 0.75Y equals therefore 735 plus 6R. 735 plus 6R. 735. Or you can divide both sides by 0.75. This divided by 0.75y, 735 divided by 0.75 plus 6 divided by 0.75 R. To divide those things, I will give the numbers. (735) divided by 0.75. 980. This is 980 plus 6 divided by 0.75. 6 divided by 0.75. 8 R. That is LM curve. IS curve, LM curve. This also you can divide both sides by 0.4. This is Y equals 500 divided by 0.4. 4 divided by 0.4 R. Doesn't matter. So therefore Y equals 500 divided by 0.4. 500 divided by 0.4. $1,250 minus 10, no? 10R. That is IS curve. Same thing. Well, I divide because I have to find our equilibrium. The third part is equilibrium income and expenditure. Now this, if you draw this diagram, Y R IS curve is like this. This is that. LM curve is like this. Take down this. Take down this. I'll give 5 minutes to do that. IS curve and LM curve. IS, LM. Right. Now we will calculate equilibrium income and interest rates. Equilibrium income and interest rate. I will first here write down the IS curve. What is our IS curve? IS is this. 1000 Y equals 1250 minus 10R. LM Y equals 980 plus 8R. 8R. Now equilibrium. At equilibrium, what will happen at equilibrium? IS equals LM. 1250 minus 10R equals 980 plus 8R. 8R. To take 10R to the other side, 980 to this side. 1250 minus 980, 8R plus 10R. 18R. 980 270, no? 270, yes, 270. R equals 270 divided by 80. 270 divided by 80. 270 divided by 80. 270 divided by 18 is 80. 30. 15. 15. Right. Then this is the diagram. IS is GDP income and the interest rate IS and LM. Equilibrium interest rate is 15%. You have to find out why. You substitute 15 into one of these equations. 15 into one of these equations. You substitute the LM curve. Y equals 980 plus 8 into 15. That is 1110. 1110. No. Yeah. 980 plus 120, no? Yeah. 120. 1100. 1100. So that is at this point, at the general equilibrium, you are on the LM curve, money market is in equilibrium. You are on the IS curve, goods market is in equilibrium. That's why it is called general equilibrium. General equilibrium. Economy is in general equilibrium. So that's why this is a very important model. Now, in this economy, what is this economy? Closed economy with government. If the government increase the expenditure, fiscal policy. IS curve shifts from IS to IS1, GDP increases, interest rate increases. Correct? Like that, you can analyze various policies. If the central bank increase the money supply, LM curve decreases. LM curve shifts to the left, shift down, shift to the right, shift down. Then you can discuss what will happen to the income and interest rate. This that's why it is called a textbook model, a very important model about economy, right? I will up to now. Right. So that's why this we work out IS and LM curve and equilibrium income and interest rate we calculated. Sorry. Yeah. Right. Okay. Right. Can you hear me? Yeah. Then what will happen? The Yes. These are we calculated IS curve, LM curve, and the equilibrium income and interest rates, general equilibrium interest rate. So if you have this model, you can analyze various policy measures. Suppose government hire 20,000 graduates and unemployed graduates. What will happen to this income and interest rates? When government hire graduates, you have to pay them salaries. So government increase expenditure increases, IS curve system. Then GDP increases, interest rate increases at the new intersection point. Right? Then suppose central bank decided to increase the money supply in the economy, LM shift down. GDP increases, interest rate decreases. Right? That is central bank policy. Various the policies can be analyzed using this model. That's why this model is very important, flexible. Economists love this model. You draw the IS and LM curve, then you can explain what is happening, what will happen to the economy, what will happen to the GDP and interest rate, right? So you summarizes this whole economy into these two models, two equations, then try to make the policy analysis, right? Okay. Open economy. Let's first discuss about this open economy model. What is open economy? Open economy, I have, when compared to the other model, this model and the open economy model, they have everything, but in addition to that, the transactions, we have M and X, imports and exports. Imports and exports. We have C, I, G, X. Firms will produce consumption goods. Firms will produce goods and services for the government. Firms will produce investment goods for the other firms and for themselves. And firms will produce exported items, goods. Firms. Tea, rubber, coconut. Then IT professionals. So these are the exports sector. When this GNP gets the translate to income to the households, supply and demand, what do they do? Demand. How do they demand? Y equals first consume. Then you have to pay taxes. Then imported goods. Last week we discussed, because in our household consumption, think about what is the percentage of imported items. Imported shoes, imported motorbikes, cars, then the caps, toothpaste, or the three-wheelers, import watches, all are. So therefore, in our household consumption basket, considerable proportion is coming from imports, right? Or the C represent the domestically produced goods and services. M represent the imported goods and services, imports, right? In a formula, Y equals C plus I plus G plus X minus M. Net exports, that is called net exports. Then consumption function, no issue, you can understand. The consumption, Y minus T. Y minus T, disposable, you have to pay taxes, disposable income. Then investment function, negative relationship between investment and interest rates. Taxes, again, we assume lump sum taxes. Fixed, not that there's no tax rate, lump sum taxes. Government expenditure 100, fixed. Export, fixed. Imports, now we have defined exports and import function. Exports also we assume 50. Imports depends on Y, income, Y. Why is that? When we are getting richer and richer, our household income increases, people's income increases, what do they do? We increase the demand for domestically produced goods as well as imported goods. Income and imports, expenditure on imports and income, country's income, there's a positive relationship between these two. That's why we call M equals 0.1y. This relationship is there, M equal 0.1y. But countries exports demand for tea, export demand for rubber, coconut, IT professionals, engineers, quantity surveys, our gem and jewelry from other countries, right? Then from Thailand, from Japan, jewelries. So our demand garments from US, Europe, demand for garments. So these exports, demand for export depends on not our income, their income, not Sri Lanka's GDP, their GDP. So these days, what is happening? These economies are shrinking, negative growth rates. Then what will happen? Demand for our exported items will go down. That's a very serious issue, right? COVID, the negative impact of the effect of COVID, whether they all in New Zealand negative growth rate, US negative growth rate, India negative growth rate, Sri Lanka was also growth rate minus 5.6. Negative growth rate. So it has brought down, all the economies down, negative growth rates. But the thing is, it is a fact. But the thing is, timeliness is important. How long will it take to recover? So when they talk about the recovery, they use, economists use the two terms, V-shaped recovery and U-shaped recovery. V-shaped recovery, economy comes down due to COVID. Quickly, maybe 1 year, 6 months time, it will pick up. V-shaped recovery. Now the New Zealand has predicted V-shaped recovery for this economy. The other shape is the U-shaped recovery. Comes down, stays some time, and then economy pick up. U-shaped recovery. V-shape and U-shape recovery, right? So most of the institutions, IMF, World Bank, then when they analyze these economies, they are the resilience to these shocks. They say there will be V-shaped recovery or U-shaped recovery, right? So these are it's not the technical term, but just to explain the recovery process to the laymen, they use these terms. Their terminology, their vocabulary, they use these terms, right? V-shape. Now most of the countries, now in Sri Lanka also, we say it might take another 1 year or 6 months. Sometimes some forecasters say it is 6 months or 1 year, sometimes 2 years to get the economy back to the initial level. So in that case, it will be a U-shaped recovery. And we don't know. So, but the government, our policymakers, economists wants economy to pick up quickly, V-shaped recovery, come down. But we don't know what will happen. It is the economy, economic forces, economic transactions, people's confidence, investors' confidence. So government's encouragement, all these factors works for this for getting the economy economic recovery, right? That is important. Only government is the combined effect of investors, domestic investors, foreign investors, domestic households. If you don't spend, you keep up money at the bank, at home, you don't spend. So then what will happen if you don't demand? Then economic transaction will not take place. GDP won't increase. So our responsibility is there. Investors, foreign investors, government also. The government has to provide incentives, infrastructure, legal system to economy work, the proper systems. So that's why the government at the moment doing the very important job. This controlling these money laundering activities coming from drug dealings. That's also important. Most of the countries have to handle these money laundering activities coming from drugs, especially if you think about the Mexico, the Bolivia, right? Most of the Latin American countries, that is drugs. It's a menace. It's a big issue, right? Colombia. In Colombia, some parts of the countries, country is controlled by these mafia groups, godfathers, right? That's a very serious issue to those countries, right? But to have a peaceful environment, that gives confidence to the domestic and foreign investors, we need peaceful investment, so it's peaceful environment. So that's what government is doing at the moment to build confidence in the economy, build confidence to the household, confidence to the investors and the foreign investors, right? Now this okay, in this case ISLM, the LM curve very easy to derive: demand for money, supply of money. But the other one, ISLM model, then you have to keep substituting these numbers, right? Find IS curve, LM curve, find equilibrium Y and R. I want you to derive that. Substitute C, substitute for T, 100, substitute G, 100, substitute X, 50, substitute 0.1 Y. You have another Y term. Then overall equation, right, left hand side you have Y, right hand side the Y will appear two times, 0.85Y and 0.1Y. You have to simplify all these. Then bring this Y to the left hand side. Otherwise, after that you have this right hand side constants. 4750 is there, 100 is there. Then you get the 100 into 0.85. Then government expenditure, exports, all the constants. Simplify these things. After that, R. 5R is minus 5R. That will be the IS curve. The what do you call that? What do you call the LM curve? No issue. LM curve, demand for money equation is there. 0.2Y minus 100R, 10R equals supply 100. Then you can derive Y and YR relationship, that is LM curve. IS curve coming from this is a simple mathematics. If you want, I can work out, but try at home. These are typical questions coming from if you see the past papers, every past paper, I think we introduced this ISLM model to the syllabus in 2014, 14 or 15. So then every paper after that, you have questions from ISLM model. So please understand, work out these questions and try one or two past paper questions, right? Then you can understand. Past paper questions, the question, I can see the settings. Example, give the IS model, ask you to derive the IS curve, LM curve, then they ask you to analyze some policy measure. Increase in government expenditure, increase in money supply, expansionary fiscal policy. Take that is very important term. Expansionary fiscal policy, increase in government expenditure, fiscal policy expanding, increase in expenditure, reduction in taxes. Expansionary fiscal policy is the term they are using, or contraction fiscal policy. Government expenditure coming down, increased taxes, contraction fiscal policy. Then that affects the IS curve. Similarly, you can use expansion monetary policy. Money supply increases. Contraction monetary policy. Money supply decreases. So the effects of these policies, the third and fourth questions are like this. Now in the paper, you are getting 8 questions. Out of 8, you have to answer 5. No, 5 questions. Now, the first question, yes, 5 questions. So each question has 4 parts. 4 parts. 5M question, 5 marks. 5, 5, 5, 5, 20. 20 into 5 is 100. So that is so all 4 parts. ISLM question, you have derived the IS curve, LM curve, then the policy analysis, other 2 curves, other 2 questions, right? So you're supposed to answer 5 questions out of 8. 20 marks each. Using the above information, find IS curve, find LM curve, find equilibrium income and interest rate. Right? Now discuss. Discuss the impact on, now this is in the paper, you get some open question, applied the economics question from applied economics. Applied economy, now up to now we have discussed theoretical economics, demand curve, supply curve, indifference curve, then the market structure, MR, MC, the profit maximization, output and the price, then the microeconomy, macroeconomy, LM, the national account, government budget, all are theoretical economics. Now, applied economics means, how these theories applicable and analyze the economic. Certain disturbances coming, COVID. If COVID comes, you should be able to analyze the impact of COVID on the economy. That is applied economics, question from applied economics. Now this discuss, that is also another the important question in the paper you are getting. Now this time I think definitely there will be a question from COVID, impact of COVID. What will happen to the COVID? There are open questions. You can think of what will happen to COVID, what happened to the economic growth rate, what will happen to tourist arrival, what will happen to foreign employment, what will happen to the oil prices, demand for oil, so many things you can think and write. COVID, I have a question. Then the growth rates, economic growth rate all over the countries, of all the economy growth rate is negative. Ours also growth rate, IMF, IDB, the IMF or the World Bank has predicted minus 5.6% growth rate for 2020. Other countries also, South Asian countries, Asian countries, most of the Asian countries, they will report a negative growth rate. Ours minus 5.6. That is also one of the impact of COVID, right? Bad effect. Discuss the impact of following policies or disturbances on the Sri Lanka's employment. What will happen to the employment? What will happen to the inflation? What will happen to the economic growth because of this disturbance? Disturbances are given. Next page. Then the government budget. Well, government budget increases or decreases, deficit increases or decreases. Balance of payment surplus increases, or what will happen to the current account, deficit to surplus, what will happen to remittances, work remittances, like that. Exchange rate, then the people's living standard. Now these are the key variables. These variables, you can divide these variables into real sector, monetary sector, fiscal sector, and the foreign sector, external sector. So the real sector, employment, inflation, economic growth, these are real sector variables. Government budget, about the budget finance, is our fiscal sector. Balance of payment, exchange rate for the external sector. Monetary sector also there. So they have a monetary sector, external sector, fiscal sector, real sector, 4 sectors. So when there are certain shocks coming to the economy, COVID affects all these 4 sectors. The real sector was affected, external sector was affected, import-export trade was affected, then the financial sector was affected, government budget, government has to spend 5,000 rupees for each poor family for 2 months, right? Huge expenses. So financial sector was affected. Then the monetary sector was affected. Central bank had to cut interest rates. So monetary policy of COVID has all these affects all the 4 sectors in the economy. What are these 4 sectors? Take down: real sector, monetary sector, fiscal sector, external sector. Real sector, monetary sector, fiscal sector, and the external sector. These are the 4 sectors. All these variables can be classified into these sectors. When in the examination, if you are going to ask this question, you can either, the question can be asked about the sectorial changes or these variable changes. Shocks. I have Last night I prepared this list of the shocks, disturbances. COVID, of course, worldwide the problem. COVID, we affected we are lucky yet. Around 12, yes, only 12 people were killed. Around 3,000 were affected, right? All other the cured. But the thing is, all over the world now. Last night I heard around over 3 million people now the affected. Then even in America itself, around nearly now 900,000 they were there. 900,000. Then yeah, 900,000. 1 million people have been affected. Yes, all over the 3 million, nearly 1 million. Then India is now, problem has come to now. India is the world second. India's the figures are rising so fast. Death rates and the affected rates, is rising very fast. India is a serious problem. But in Sri Lanka, it's a small country. On the one hand, it's a small country. We have resources. It's a combined effect of the government and the forces. So that was the World Health Organization also appreciates our approach to handling COVID. At the same time, we anticipated this problem. That is the important thing. So that we planned out. We had a good plan. Other countries, of course, till the problem comes into their houses, into their countries, they didn't have the plan. That's why, personally, I feel that was the reason. Our planning, well planned, how to approach. You set up all these committees, and the allocated work allocation was there, then handle. That's why India has a problem. India, the planning, poor planning, maybe we don't know, poor planning, and US, Australia, UK has another problem, because their people don't want to close up the sectors, close up the economy, shut down the economy. They want to go to beaches, they want to go to pubs, they want to go to pools, the playgrounds, right? So that is the people demand. They have to, government has to consider these things. So therefore, it's like it's a cultural factor is there. Now in Sri Lankan case, when a visitor comes, when your friends comes, we treat them, we entertain them at home. Now we serve tea them with some cakes, or we chat them, discuss with them, we have fun at home, everything. But in developed countries, the case, there are all these meetings, gatherings were at the pub or some the grounds, right, parks. They have the gatherings at park. Household is a highly the private entity. Home is so they have their outings. Their life is that is their culture. So that was the issue for the government. Government has to listen to this, their demand. So many things they tried, but people didn't care. They went to beaches, they went to the parks, the public parks. So that is the issue. Some economists say that WHO says that cultural practices also act as some barriers, hindrances to handling this COVID issue, right? Okay, COVID, imposing of import restriction. Government, we have banned imports now. Luxury, non-luxury imports, non-essential imports have been banned. Government employing unemployed graduates to government service. Now the government has recruited, I'm not quite sure, around 20,000 graduates, so 5,000 number, but now they have hired to the government services. Closing down of imports, March 18 or 16, we closed down our ports and airports. Right? Granting 5,000 to COVID-19 affected poor family. For 2 months, government granted these 5,000 poor families. Bringing around 50,000 Sri Lankans living in COVID-19 affected countries, right? So 50,000, still we are bringing those people in other countries, the countrymen. Sri Lankans living in other countries, they are professionals, doctors, engineers, quantity surveys, right? So microbiologists, they are living there, they are working there, so they want to come back. So at the same time, housemates, altogether 50,000, around 50,000. Right? Political stability after the general election, that is also another important. Now the economic stability, political stability also is a necessary factor, very important factor to achieve economic stability in the economy, stable economy. Stable economy is a very important factor to build investor confidence, right? Now think as an economist, not as some other, with some judgments, right? Political stability must to achieve economic stability. Economic stability is a must, very important factor to achieve encourage investors to invest, consumers to consume, firms to invest, right? Start their activities, right? So not only this is not true for Sri Lanka, any country. Think about Syria, then most of the Middle Eastern countries. So there's a problem. No economic stability, no political stability. Therefore, no economic stability. Their economies are going down. Lebanon, huge explosion was there. Political stability is affected. So therefore, think about political stability is a very important factor to have have a stable economy, confident economy. Right? Then the negative economic growth rate. What will happen when there's a negative? Sri Lanka's economic growth rate. This time, as I said earlier, they have predicted the 5.6 negative. What will happen when there's a negative economic growth rate? People won't invest. Investor confidence decreases. Employment decreases. Now we know that employment. So in Sri Lanka, after post-COVID period, lots of redundancies. Companies, layoffs. They rationalize, cut down their employment. The casual employees, they ask them to stop at home. So even permanent staff, they cut the salaries. Right? This is an adjustment process because you can't blame these companies. They don't have businesses, right? So sometimes they paid the minimum wage 15,000 rupees for irrespective of their current status, 50,000 rupees per month. Now there's a demand. Okay, now economy has been opened up. Now we won't go back to our earlier salary scales, but the companies say still you have to wait. We are not performing full capacity. We are not coming to the initial level, so still we can't pay you the full salary, right? Those issues are there. Negative economic growth rate, depreciation of exchange depreciation. Then the money laundering activities. Now money laundering activities, I purposely included that. These days, money laundering activities, now the government is going to control money laundering activities, the money laundering activities in the country. The drug trafficking, arms dealing. So these are the activities. Also, that's another factor to have a stable economy, right? Right. Now these are the shocks, disturbances, policies. What will happen? What is the impact of these policies on this economic variable? Now, that is in the paper, in the examination paper, you get at least 2 questions from this kind of applied economics topics. So analyze this. What will happen? Think about if you have read newspapers and listen to the news items, you can easily answer these questions. They are open questions. You can open question there. You can answer that question, right? Okay. Right. Let's briefly discuss about these things. I will first take this political stability. Of course, we discuss what is the link between the economic growth and the political stability. Political stability will achieve economic stability. Economic stability will encourage investors, investor confidence. Then C plus I plus G, output increases, economic growth increases, right? So when economy is growing, employment will increase, inflation price level will comes down, government budget, the deficit government will not have the government budget. Of course, the impact of government budget, political stability may be again a problem. Then you can they have a planning process. You can government also government confidence on economic activity, economic planning, have a very long-term plan for the economy. That is also important. So the balance of payment, we'll discuss this again. One by one. COVID-19. Please read one of the box articles. The Central Bank Annual Report 2019. Annual report, latest annual report. You have the box article. 2-page note, 2 or 3-page note. In chapter 1, as I can remember, chapter 1. I will try to upload next week this chapter, the box article. That's COVID-19 article on COVID-19. The Economic Research Department of the Central Bank has published that. If you can read this box article and take down some notes. So long, everything is there. COVID's the starting point, how it proceeds, how that affect to the fiscal sector, that affect to the real sector, external sector, then the monetary sector, then the government, the responses to these problems. Please read that. Imposing import restriction. This is also outcome of COVID. Government impose restrictions on importation, because the non-essential imports. Because non-essential means essential imports. Food items we import dal. Then the food items, maybe the sugar, sometimes rice also import. Then the dried fish imports, we are not self-sufficient from these dried fish. Chilies, we import food items, lots of food items. Coriander, then these are the imported items. We import, right? Then the medicines import around lots of drugs. The drugs are imported items. These are the things, right? Then the raw materials we import. The machineries import. Fertilizer imports. Oil, it is essential. Except these, the essentials, others, vehicles, computers, VCRs, these are stopped. Right? These have been stopped. Now the cosmetics also are stopped. Right? That is also a problem. Electrical items stopped. So that is a problem. So there's a non. Why is that? What is the reason? When you import these things, draining of foreign exchange, important foreign exchange, our reserves going out, foreign exchange. So government had this problem. Our reserves is coming down, foreign exchange earnings coming down, our foreign assets coming down. To handle those problems, then say no, non-essential imports, just to stop this draining of foreign exchange reserves into other countries. If you don't have enough resources, you can't do anything. Your credibility decreases. You can't get a loan. Other countries will not give grant loan. If they do, they will charge very high interest rate. Right? So reserves are it's like, for example, your assets, your reserves. What are your reserves? House, your vehicle, your land, your jewelry. These are your assets. If you don't have these assets, what will happen? Nobody will care you. Right? I myself have some assets at home. Then a beggar begging on the road, by side of the road. Then difference between myself, I can go to the bank, I can ask for a loan, I can do so many things, right? Because of my credibility, creditworthiness is there. But other persons, he can't go to the bank, he can't draw a loan because creditworthiness nil. So then same thing happens to Sri Lanka, the countries reserves. If you don't have reserves, nobody cares. Very difficult to get along, right? So that is a problem, the import restrictions. So therefore, we need reserves. That's one of the objectives of to preserve the reserves. Preserve the reserves of the country economy. So people can argue we need vehicles. Yes, government might relax those things after 6 months, 1 year period, 1 year time. They might relax. Of course, they do. The consumers want to enjoy these the facilities of these imports, right? So then, but wait and see policy. Okay, we'll wait another 6 months time. Then we'll introduce gradually. We'll open up this economy to other imported items, right? Employing unemployed graduates to government services. You know that government expenditure increases, GDP increases, price level will go up, tend to increase, inflation will go up. Right? These are the things. Balance of payment, of course, if they do increase the imported items, again balance of payment worsens. Current account deficit increases, demand for imports increases, right? So basically, fiscal policy will be affected. Government expenditure increases, budget deficit increases, then the government will have to find more money to finance the budget deficit if they graduates the hire more and more graduates to the government. So that is government problem. But government had given the promise to these people in this country, then they have to stand with these policies. That's why they even with the difficult period they wanted to stand with this policy, right? Implement that policy. Closing down of airport, that is a serious thing. We closed down because of the spreading of COVID. People affected with this diagnosed with the COVID, they are coming to the country. If they move with other people, that will be a problem. Just stop the airport. Tourism sector will be affected. No tourist earnings. Our people can't go up. Outward tourism decreases. Inward tourism comes down. Tourism sector will directly relate to the balance of payment. Balance of payment. Outward remittance, outward tourism directly related to the balance of payment. Balance of payment. Again, think about that. These are the open questions. When there are no tourists, people are not going outward, outbound tourism. We are not going out, not going to Japan, not going to Thailand, then the Burma or India, Varanasi, to Egypt. What will happen? Our tourism sector sinks. Tour guides will be unemployed. Travel agents will have a serious problem, right? Our economic activities will go down. Economic growth will come down. Like that, you can think and write those things, right? So the closing down of airports, then what happens to this area? It's like a very small England. Lots of activities, tourism-related activities were there before COVID. Now, if you go there, the investors, shops are closed down, no economic activities, only good weather. Very weather is there, but others real activities have come down. Now gradually they are picking up, but with the local tourist, right? Local tourist now has a very greater demand in within the country. In other hotel rates coming down, packages are there. So therefore, that's also a good development. Foreign tourists are not coming. Locals tourists are going. The demand coming from these local tourists. The government hotel sector should concentrate, grab the activities, right? So the closing down of airports, I am discussing, these are common sense, you can't say, but you have to read, you have to write well about this. Then read well about this, listen to the TV and write these papers. Granting of 5,000 rupees to COVID affected poor families. Government granted 2 months, 5,000. Government budget increases. Budget deficit increases. Financing will be difficult. But then that will be created to some extent, the price level will go up, inflation will go up. Money supply increases. Right? If to that amount, if the central bank issue treasury bills and treasury bond, money supply also will go up. That is the thing. So COVID-19 bringing around 50,000 Sri Lankan. This is a very important. Those people were employed on those countries. Now what happened? They come here, they are unemployed. Housemates are unemployed. They don't have jobs. Quantity service are unemployed. Engineers are unemployed. Doctors are unemployed. Gradually they can find jobs, but domestic activities are also shrinking. So this is a serious problem to the government. 50,000, unemployment increases. Unemployment will go up. Right? Unemployment will go up. Right? That is the issue. So then, then again, government expenditure. Unlike other countries, the locals are not supposed to pay if they are quarantined. If they bring those to quarantine center, locals are not supposed to pay. Only foreigners. Foreigners coming from Melbourne or the other countries, now they have to pay for the air tickets, and as well as to the they have to stay at the hotels. Hotel charges also around 170,000 plus the air ticket, right? That is charged. But what about the others? Locals, the government has some quarantine centers, around 30-35 quarantine centers. Government provide these services free of charge. Budget increases. That is, government expenditure increases. Right? But other countries, it is not the case. Other countries, you have to bear the cost. If you are affected by COVID, you have to bear the cost. That is huge expenses. Middle East country, that is the issue. Dubai, Qatar, the Sri Lankan living in those countries, they are scared of. Their medical expenses huge. If they don't have enough insurance coverage, so if they get COVID, hope we pray not to get the COVID for them, but then there's a problem. End of the thing. So therefore, the medical expenses, you have to bear the cost. Not like other countries. But here in Sri Lanka, we have our own systems. We have developed quarantine centers. Our doctors are there, engineers, forces are there. We look after. We don't want them to move with the other people. 14 days. After 14 days, you have to stay another 21. That is government budget. Budget expenditure increase. Government deficit increase. Budget deficit increases. Right? Those are the things. Now, that's why I have given these shocks. Now, in the examination, definitely there will be questions from the COVID, practical, applied economic questions. Think about that. Political stability we discussed. Negative economic growth. When economy is shrinking, negative, not growing, no employment generation. Employment shrink. Layoff of the workers, laying off of workers, or the sacking of people. Stop. They say no. Some countries, the developed countries, the Australia, they say, okay, we can't run the business with this much of workers. We are going to lay off, cut employment by 50%, 20%, right? Most of the airlines, world airlines, they cut Emirates, Singapore Airlines, they cut the employment of the employment, 10%, 20%, 30% cutting. Here in Sri Lanka also, that is their response. You cut wages, you cut your employment, you cut your other fringe benefits, you cut the benefit, the bonuses. So these are the response of business sector to this COVID. Right? Think about it. I am just giving the overall picture. Now we have to take down, think about and write some note, take down some notes and work out this, think about that. Depreciation of exchange rate. Now then what will happen? Now we have some kind of the control on the exchange rate movements, but earlier when the foreign exchange is going, people are bringing, investors are taking out the dollars. When more and more imported items coming into the country, unnecessarily draining of foreign exchange going up, demand for dollars going up, exchange rate depreciates. Demand for dollars increases. Why is that? Because people want to bring so many unnecessary things also, imports. So then at the same time, investors, those who have foreign investors, those who have the purchase government treasury bills, Treasury bonds, they have to, if they want to take out, they ask for dollars. Dollars going up, going out. That is the thing, right? Okay. Then these activities are important. Then what will happen? Yeah. So the money laundering activities, of course, you can discuss the about this the drug finance, controlling drugs also is a positive impact on economic growth. Depreciation of exchange rate will make imports expensive. Imports expensive. If you, let's assume this pen is $1 before depreciation. Let's say rupee equal 150. $1 means you have to pay 150 to buy this pen. No taxes. Domestic price will be 150. Suppose currency depreciate from 150 to 200. Pen will be 200 rupees. That is, imports will be expensive. Price of imports will go up when currency depreciates. Obviously, that is the quantity of imports will go down. Your imports will be expensive. Exports will be cheap to the foreigners in terms of dollars. If they want to buy 1 kilogram of tea, paying $1, 150. But after depreciation, 200, you need to pay only 50 cents dollars to buy 1 kilogram of tea. The dollar rupee rates changes. Imports will be expensive. Exports will be cheap to foreigners. Imports will be expensive to the locals. Exports will be cheap to the foreigners. Export price will come down. That is the impact of depreciation. When we have almost all the items, imported items, our cost of living also go up. The prices are going up. So these are the activities, right? Right. Time now. So we have one more day. Next week we have we have one lesson. I will try to upload the paper, 1 or 2 papers, and briefly discuss by revising and discuss these papers, 2 papers broadly. I give the outline, the how to approach this question. Probably at the last year question paper. Please be ready for that one. That is, this is 2020, 19 September paper, and 19 September and 19 September and 19 March paper. Please buy those papers, 2 papers, and have the online access is there. So I will discuss those 2 papers. I will upload this, and this is important. These are the of course the one of the questions, applied questions. This paper, this time you can expect question from these areas, right? COVID, the government policies, and central bank policies, right? Okay. Now the last few slides. Investment, I think I discussed this again. Y equals C plus S, simple economy, closed economy without government. Household sector, Y equals C plus S. Business sector, GDP equals C plus I. At equilibrium, supply equals demand. Demand is Y. Supply is C plus I. C plus SC equals C plus I. C cancel out, SC equals I. It's a very important identity. Why is that? This simple model is not actual model. It's a highly unrealistic model. Business sector invest. How do they find money? How do they finance? Savings coming from households. Only households save, no other sector, no government, no foreign sector. Then investment equals savings. Investment, firms, business, investment expenditure is finance using only household saving. Simple. Next model. With government. Now what will happen? Y equals C plus S plus T. Demand. C S T. C S T. Y. GDP. Supply. C, consumption goods, I, investment goods, G, government goods. C plus I plus G. At equilibrium, demand equals supply. C plus I plus G equals C plus S plus T. C cancel out. I equals, to take G to the other side, S, household savings, plus T minus G. Very important identity. I is investment in the economy, is finance using household savings plus government saving. If the government savings is there, government saves. So there were two sectors, two companies, two sectors, two parties, two players save, provide savings. Who are these parties? Household savings and the government. T minus G, tax revenue minus government expenditure. Government savings are used to finance the investment in the economy. S plus T minus G. Understand? But the thing is, actually, T minus G is Sri Lanka, T minus G is negative. No government expenditure. That is the problem. That is the problem. Our government did save current account deficit. So therefore, T minus G is not positive. That is the issue. That's why we need foreign exchange, foreign assistance, foreign aids, foreign investment, foreign financing. Right? Next model, open economy. Open economy, again, these are very important identities. Y equals C plus, S plus, T plus, M. Domestically produced goods, consumption, imported goods, M. T is paying taxes, S. GNP equals C, consumption goods, investment goods, government goods, exports, company. C plus I plus G plus X. Then what will happen? Equals. Demand equals supply. Investment in this economy is financed using S, household savings. T minus G, government savings. M minus X is called foreign savings. Three sectors, three players saves, provide savings to finance the investment. So in our country, what will happen? T minus G is negative. Government is save. No savings of the government. So therefore, that is the serious issue. So then, but anyway, identity is like that. Investment is financed using household savings, government savings, foreign savings. Right? This identity. That's all. Then we'll stop today. Next week will be the last lecture. I might upload 1 or 2 September or the March paper and discuss with some revision session, because that will be a revision session. So at least if I can discuss a few questions, please take down notes. We prepare, we go through these past papers. If you have got the model answer, that will be also useful. 2019, 2 papers, right? That is also useful. These 2 papers, March and the September paper. Please read the question paper, read the model answers. Read the question paper, September paper, read the model answer. Be prepared and come to the class. Then I can, we'll discuss those questions, and I will give some tips to how to answer those questions, how to select the questions, how to answer the questions, whether to, because the examiners expect brief answers, not the essay type answers. That's also important. Okay, we'll stop now. We will see you all coming Saturday. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye. Thank you very much. Hello. Hello. Thank you. Thank you. So see you on Wednesday. Saturday, same time. Be prepared. Bring those 2 papers, and before coming to the class, please go through, and then we'll have some session. Right? Okay. Thank you.